Hello and welcome to my Harlem portraits. As you can see, this is a new setting, which is due to the fact that we are still in COVID times, unfortunately, and so we are not in the studio. And to start this new series, I have a very, very important person with me because we are talking in this program about Black excellence in every field. And the host I have with me, my guest, sorry, that I have with me, Pat Stevenson, is definitely the identification and the example of Black excellence in quite a lot of fields, actually. So welcome to my Harlem portrait, Pat.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Pat Stevenson is celebrating this year her 25th anniversary as 100% owner, founder, and CEO of Harlem Community News, Inc. It's a free paper which is distributed in 25,000 copies in 4 boroughs. It is a certified New York City and New York State and WBE. Congratulations, Pat.
Thank you.
This is an incredible, incredible achievement for someone who started by herself 25 years ago. You moved to Harlem from the rest of the United States where you lived for many years.
Well, actually, from Queens to Harlem.
From Queens to Harlem. And before that, you were...
But I'm from Savannah, Georgia, originally, but I moved from Queens to Harlem.
Fantastic. And before you came to Harlem to publish, you held various positions in media and advertising, and that includes Vice President of Media and Promotion at J.P. Martin, managing media for Anheuser-Busch and the Budweiser Superfest concerts in 50 major cities. You were the media director of Uniworld Group, which at that time was the second largest Black agency in the nation. Mm-hmm. And you were the managing plans and executions for different accounts that included General Foods, General Motors, AT&T, and others. Incredible career, but then something happened that stopped you from doing that. And what was it?
It was something as simple as a fear of flying. I was on a trip to going to Egypt, and my plane was tumbling to the ground. Of course, it didn't crash because I'm here, but that incident just, I developed a fear of flying, and my entire career in advertising was based on flying. The Superfest concerts were in 15 markets. I had to go to those cities 2 or 3 times within 6 or 7 months. I spent my life on planes traveling. So having a fear of flying was not good for the career path that I was on at that time. And I tried to get over it. It didn't work. So I had to find something else to do that was local where I didn't have to fly. And that's what brought me to where obviously I was supposed to be anyway. Into the publishing business.
Your divine plan.
Well, no, I think it was God's divine plan. And finally, I just stepped into the role that I'm supposed to be in. And I say that because as I started publishing, and I'm not a journalist, I didn't go to school for journalism or publishing, but I felt very comfortable in what I was doing. And it seems as though the natural talents that I have and the skills I picked up over time actually prepared me well for what I'm doing now. So that's why I decided, okay, God, this was your divine plan for me. So now I'm on the right road. And for the past 25 years, I just felt that I'm where I'm supposed to be, and I'm very comfortable being here. And I plan to do another 25 years, God willing.
And you're surely going to do, and the community is going to really uh, treasure from what you're doing. Uh, I have to say that this interview to me is very, very special because I've known you since 2013 when I first moved to New York, to Harlem for good. And you were one of the first to really embrace me and really made me feel part of this family, the Harlem family. And you realized that I wasn't in a good moment because my dad had passed and I had left my job and so on. And you said, you need to do something. You can't stay there doing nothing. And you said, you have to write for me. And so you told me, you like theater, you are into theater, so write about theater, write about entertainment. You know everybody, do that. And that helped me really to get out of the situation, the mental situation I was in. So I will always be grateful for you for that. So here we are, and I believe very closely to you and your ups and downs during these years, both from the professional point of view and from the health point of view. Mm-hmm. But you went through it all, you weathered it all, and came out a winner. So I'm very honored and proud to be part of your journey because what you've done, expanding your business from the written paper to the online, to the social media, and reach out to more and more communities helping people. And especially from what you managed to do since COVID started. It's just amazing. So tell us how you got through it, what helped you, and what are the main events that you'd like to underline that you support and do.
Okay, I'll start with one correction for you, Maria. We're not through it yet.
No, we are not. We're not through until now. Nobody's through. Yeah.
We're still getting through it. Yep. Well, I was coming off of my best year, 2019. I had, the first year I had made a profit. Business was going along very well. And then in March of 2020, businesses closed down. And in my business with the community newspaper, basically our revenue comes from advertising. Mm-hmm. And so some of our bigger advertisers, such as Macy's department stores, Columbia universities, Hostess, the colleges, the theaters, they were all not operating. So that meant that there was no advertising. As a matter of fact, the first week the city was closed down for COVID in March, I lost over $100,000 that week in future contracts. And I really didn't know what the future, just like most people. Most of us, we were shut down. We didn't know how long it's going to last. So I just put my faith in God and just took it day by day, literally. Fortunately, media is essential, and the decision by New York City, New York State, and the federal government to continue to advertise the safety measures from COVID in community newspapers kept me afloat. So those ads continued and still continue every week. Of course, they were weekly, so I didn't know, from one week to the next what was going to happen, but that helped to keep me afloat. Also, I reached out to an organization I used before, New York PACE. They helped me to get to the point in 2019 where I was profitable. So this time they, asked if any businesses needed their help during COVID. And what they do is they offer you some consultants who are usually Ivy League students, grad students, or some with experience. and they assign about 3 of them to you, and they literally spend about 6 weeks talking to
Oh,
you about your business, about what you think the problems are. They go back and they do research, and you continue the discussions, and that's what we did. We did that throughout April. By May, we had a plan, because at that time I told them, I've been publishing 25 years. For my 20th anniversary, I had a fundraiser and over 200 people attended, and that's not going to happen this year. So, and I told them I was expecting my worst time to be in the summer, July, August, because normally that's when I promote the Harlem Week, which is a huge celebration in New York and with a lot of sponsors. And
which is
that
what you
was not going
started
to
with, right?
yes, when I started.
Mm-hmm.
So with Harlem Week. And so that was one of my main events. That was not going to happen. I was not going to get those sponsorships. So we looked at July and August being really tough times for me, but August is my 25th anniversary. That's when I started. So they did some research and they came up with some ideas, and they found that there were other community newspapers that not only had revenue from advertising, but from subscriptions and from supporters. So that was something new they came up with. And we decided, okay, I can't have an event in a venue, but I have the newspaper. So we just decided, okay, August 20th, that's going to be my anniversary issue. And so I'm just going to, they put together a package that I could make an appeal for supporters, subscribers, and advertisers for my 25th anniversary. I sent that out to all of my previous advertisers, and the response was tremendous. I was overwhelmed with the response I got from individuals, from organizations, from businesses. What happened was, it turned out that, this was now 4 or 5 months into COVID. A lot of people weren't communicating. So for them to hear from me, they said, of course, those who could decided they were going to support me with their advertising, but it was a way for me to connect with them, and a way for me to find out who was doing well and who's pretty much still here and still in business. So that turned out very well, and it gave me a shot in the arm, and I was able to raise enough money for a few weeks of bills for advertising. So I'm very grateful for that. It got me on my feet. They then started advertising as of August, September, October. Now business is pretty much back. And, it's just a matter of what's going to happen next, So I'm waiting like everybody else to see who our leaders is going to be.
Exactly, exactly.
I guess after November 3rd, we'll have some idea
Mm-hmm.
of what our future looks like. And so like everyone else, I'm gonna wait, but right now business is good, and I'm thankful to New York Pace, and thankful to God that
That you
this, yeah, that I was able to stay in business during this whole pandemic.
and this situation and the fact that we don't know what's going on brings me to another moment in which you surprised me, because all these years I had been trying to write about politics, and you always told me, no, 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 because I don't want any controversial. I only want to write good news.
Yes, that's my
And
motto. Good news you can use, right?
exactly. That's always been your motto. And since I have been in politics all my life, I was like, I want to write politics. And one day you called me and you said, Maria, are you ready to write about the anniversary of the end of slavery and say what you want to say? And I said, yes, but I'm ready. And I know, because you told me, that what prompted you was the crazy situation in which this country is now, because we have two pandemics. We have the COVID pandemic and we have the blatant, systematic racist pandemic, which has been really enhanced and brought to the surface by an administration that has not been able or willing to, instead of dividing the country, unifying it. So here we are in this situation now, and I'm glad that you took the Black Lives Matter movement very seriously. So tell me what prompted you to do that, and what did you do?
Well, I don't know that one can say something prompted me, because the message of the Black Lives Matters movement has been with me my entire life. I mean, I'm from Savannah, Georgia. I was born in the 50s. You know, I grew up as a child and I saw the water fountains and the restrooms that said white only, black only, you know. So it's not something I saw on TV. You know, it was part of my, yeah, it's part of my life. You know, my family was out marching as a child. I learned the songs in church and at rallies with my family. So, you know, that's been part of my life. That's been part of my reality. During my career, I have had situations in which it was always brought to my attention that I'm a Black woman, or I was very aware that I did not have all the opportunities as other women, but you know, I didn't let that stop me, but it was always right in front of me. And when the Black Lives Matter event started, I felt right at home, like, okay, so now, because, you know, for years, there have been a lot of people who felt, okay, you all have arrived. You know, you have all of these people, Oprah, they, you know, they're billionaires, and now you have a Black president. You should be good. But what a lot of people didn't understand was, yeah, well, that's a few people out there, and that's on the surface, but that underlying racism, you know, was happening, you know, being void of opportunities was still happening in the community. So when the march came to Harlem, I had to leave my house. I put on my mask and I left my house and I went out there. I had to. I felt I just couldn't just sit and just watch it, you know, because it's part of me and part of the movement I'm already a part of. So being out there and feeling the energy of people who wanted to see a change, I was compelled to capture that in the paper. And I did. I captured the entire Black Lives Matter movement in the paper. When I noticed, like everybody else, that it was happening all over the world. And knowing how you really wanted to write about this topic, and seeing that it was happening in Italy and, you know, Paris and just everywhere, then I felt I wanted you to talk about it from your perspective, you know, as an Italian woman, you know, watching what's happening with Black people in this country, and you're worldly, you've seen, you know, the treatment of Black people all over the world. I thought you had a unique perspective that you could bring. And that's why I asked you to write an article, which you did a wonderful job on. And I got a lot of comments about that article. But yeah, this was a time I had to just come out of my, you know, but I think it's good news.
It is good news.
It was good news. Black Lives Matter movement is good news that everybody's waking up. You know, as a matter of fact, I called it 2020 vision. You know, all of a sudden, you know, people's eyes are opening now. So, you know, amidst all of this darkness happening with COVID, you know, that was a bright light to shine, I think, and I'm hoping that it will follow up with some changes. But I am seeing some changes. Being a Black newspaper, I can tell you there are people advertising with us like Google who've never advertised before. And there are people that just feel they need to support what we're doing since we are, on a daily and weekly basis. We're talking about what's happening in the community. So there are things happening right now. So we're going to just see how long this shift, continues. And I just think, I think we're in for a new norm, not just because of COVID, but a new norm because of how people will learn to treat each other. I do feel that that's coming, and I believe the understanding, the better understanding is also there. So, we'll just, I'm looking forward to 2021.
Oh, we are all looking forward to 2021.
Hoping that COVID has, right.
Exactly, because I think what you said now underlines one very important fact that I thought when the Black Lives Matter movement started to rise because of the drop that made the vase overflow, like we say in Italian, of the murder of George Floyd.
Exactly.
That movement was seen all over the world and followed it, and is followed all over the world. And I think COVID actually was a positive thing in that moment because people were home. People had the time
Exactly.
to see what was happening and to follow what was happening. Had we been in a normal situation where everybody was busy with their
Some
life,
would be
with their
too
job,
busy. Absolutely.
they wouldn't have been able to focus on that as much as we did. And this, I think, has been very, very important. So now the message for these days, we only have not even 2 weeks left, is please do not stop. We need everybody to vote.
Yes. Yes.
This
We need
is
everyone.
fundamental.
And it seems as though the message is being heard. From the information I'm getting, there are a lot of people doing the early voting. I plan to early vote next week. I believe in my heart early voters are Democrats. So we'll have a change of government, hopefully. And I just think it's interesting times for us. So the COVID's been good, been bad, but then good in a way. I guess that's what you're trying to get to.
Exactly.
But we're not going to forget those people we lost to COVID. And as I think about my advertisers, I want us to take 1 minute to think about Dr. Butler. She was an animal hospital. She ran an animal hospital in Harlem for 31 years. And she was one of the first that we lost to COVID. And it was a shock because she's a fairly young woman compared to me and had no underlying conditions that we knew of. So she was one of the first to be lost to COVID. And so, it was a tragic thing to happen to us, and still is, in terms of the people that we're losing to it. But, hopefully we're getting a better handle on it. And, we're going to get to the after COVID part of our lives soon, I hope.
Yes. We have gone over time right
now.
And we need to conclude this conversation, but because we have so much more to say, I invite you to another episode of my Harlem Portrait.
Okay.
And vote, vote, vote. Right?
Right.
Thank you for being with us, and we see you for the next episode of My Harlem Portrait. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.